Hello and welcome to my new channel, which I will be calling Real Ree. Yay! So I've had a YouTube channel for ages due to my photography, but since falling pregnant, I don't want to do photography anymore, which we'll leave that to another video. But I really wanted to share my journey because I feel like my journey in pregnancy is a little bit unique, as you will learn along the way. And I wanted to kick things off and actually tell you how I found out that I'm pregnant. So as I record this, I'm currently 18 weeks pregnant, and I found out I was pregnant just before the 7-week mark. So I've known for some time, and it's taken me this long to start making videos. Yes, I know. It all started when I decided to take a pregnancy test when I saw my naturopath. Now, I've been seeing a naturopath for 2 years for multiple reasons, and when you're on the herbs, there's like these gross herbs that you take. When you're on them, you've got to be careful if you fall pregnant because the herbs can do damage to yourself and the baby. So every 3 months, I would take a pregnancy test just to make sure I wasn't pregnant for that reason. Since I turned 17, I've been told by multiple doctors that I will never be able to fall pregnant. So in my mind, for a very long time, I said, I'm not having kids. I don't want kids. It's just not happening. When I went to my naturopath, I was a little bit early and I decided I'm going to take a pregnancy test because I really need to pee. It was a week after I went to an epic event in Sydney for Tony Robbins, if you've heard of him, the UPW event. So I wasn't feeling the best anyway because, you know, we were up 18 hours a day just doing straight mind work with Tony Robbins for 4 days straight. And when I came home, I was obviously tired and I was obviously quite run down because of the amount of hours I was putting in with very little sleep. A part of me was like, I feel like I might be pregnant. Another part of me was just like, it's not possible. So I remember going to the public toilet with this stick and sat down, obviously peed on the stick, and it came back positive. I was like, fuck, I better tell my naturopath. I went and sat down, waited for my naturopath to be ready for me. And she's beautiful. She opened up, just like, hey, we haven't seen you in ages, how are you? And I'm just sitting there like going, She's like, what's wrong? I'm like, and I literally couldn't talk. I was just so shocked. And then she sat me down in her little room. She's like, talk to me, what's wrong? And it took me ages, and I said, I think I'm pregnant. And then I just cried. I just cried and cried and cried. Not in happiness, in fear, in frustration, because I was seeing my naturopath not to fall pregnant, but just to have a cycle, as I have PCOS, which I'll explain my journey in another video. I was just so scared. I was so unhappy because it just didn't seem like that was what my life was meant to be. And Safi was so happy for me. She's like, this is amazing. I'm like, no, it fucking isn't. Like, I was a mess. And people that know me know that I'm a very positive person. That day, I could not find a single positive thing except the pregnancy test, obviously. So she told me, go to my local doctor, get a blood test to confirm 100% if you're pregnant. And I said, okay. And I walked through the Maya Centre in Brisbane, bawling my fucking eyes out, got to my car. I hated the idea of driving in silence. Usually I love driving in silence so I can collect my thoughts, but I just didn't want to hear my own thoughts that day. So I called my mum, and she works, poor bugger, she works 6 hours away, I think it is, in the mines. So she was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, obviously away when I had the test. And she's like, hey baby, how are you? And I just said, Mum, I'm pregnant, as I'm like full sobbing. And she went, oh, fuck. She knows how much I didn't really want to fall pregnant. And she's like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I need to go to the blood test. So I explained everything. And she was just trying to calm me down. And I just couldn't get calm. And then I got to the doctors. And then this is how much I was in my head. I went, holy fuck. I need to tell my husband. I didn't even think for a second to call him because I was so like, what's this doing to me? Oh my God, oh my God. And then I called him and he's like, hey, what's wrong? And I'm like, I was crying again. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And he thought I was in a car accident. So he was, you know, pretty like, what the fuck's wrong? Tell me what's wrong, da da da. And I told him I'm pregnant. And I said, I'm sorry. And he said, where are you? Told him I was at the doctor's, and he's like, I'll be there in 5. He's so beautiful. He's like the most protective person in the world. I went into the doctor and I told him, and then he got me the blood test organized. And then as soon as I walked out of the door, I was still sobbing. My husband was standing there like just waiting to make sure that I was alive. Then he took me to the blood test place and I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. And the lady said, look, it's a Friday. I'm sorry, but you won't be able to get your blood test results back until Monday afternoon. And I was like, 72 fucking hours without knowing what the hell's inside my body? Like, is this a joke? Are you serious? I've got to sit with this feeling for 72 hours. Obviously it's not her fault, but I just wasn't ready for it. I'm like, I don't want to be, I had a very quiet weekend that weekend, so I couldn't even keep my mind busy. And yeah, she's like, I'm sorry, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I said to Ashley, go back to work. I'm gonna go get some chocolate and I'm gonna go home and I'm just gonna sleep because I can't deal. So then obviously the Saturday and the Sunday, we pretty much just spent time together, and I tried to forget about it, but there was one specific moment where I had a bath and I was sitting in the bath and actually walked past and he said, "So are you okay?" And I just looked at him and I just cried more and more and more. I just sat there with like my head on my knees and I just sobbed my heart out because I was like, I don't know if this is what I want. I don't know, like I'm so scared. This is like, I've never ever straight up said I wanted children in my whole like 25 years of life. Yeah, I was petrified. I was so petrified. And then the Sunday I wanted to go to Mount Tamborine, which is my favorite place in this world. And I was informed that I'm not supposed to go up a mountain due to high altitude making you lose your breath or something. Ashley's like, you know, let's just go somewhere else like Mount Cootha. And I'm like, here's my fucking freedom, already being taken away from me. And he's like, don't be like that. And I was like, nah, this is bullshit. Like, this is exactly why I don't want children. So I was already challenged in the first, you know, couple of hours of being a mum, and I didn't even, you know, I wasn't even sure if I was going to be a mum. I still wasn't sure on what I wanted. And then on the Monday, Ashley went to work and I went and got my blood test and I sat down. He's like, it's a positive. And I said, yeah, I figured. And I cried again and he's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I need to talk to my husband. And he said, okay, well, I'm booking you in for an ultrasound to get a dating scan anyway because you're going to need to know that. But let me know what you decide. I texted my husband and I said, it came back positive. It's definite. We're pregnant. And he said, okay, go get your dairy-free chocolate and a 6-pack of beer for me and we'll talk when we get home. That was the longest 4 hours of my life. I thought the 72 hours was fucking dreadful, waiting for that test, but waiting for my husband to get home for 4 hours, I was going insane. I'm like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I was like, fuck. I can't handle this. But yeah, he came home. I realized while I was waiting for him to come home, I hadn't even asked what he wanted. Was he excited? Is it what he wanted? Is it something that he looks forward to? I just realized that's how much I was in my own head, and it's so unlike me to be so wrapped up in my own ego. And then when we sat down, I gave him his beer and there was an awkward silence. I said, so what do you want? The sentence that will always get me is, I don't want to die not knowing what it's like to be a dad, and I want to be the dad I never had. And in that moment, I was like, holy fuck, how can I take this away? You know, how can I be so selfish of my own goals and dreams where I can still achieve everything I want to achieve with a child, whereas his goals and dreams you can't achieve without a child. Another thing we were super worried about is, on my side of the family, both my grandmas, one's my nonna, one's my nana, they're both twins or triplets. So my nonna was a twin and my nana was a triplet. And they believed that it skipped the generation of their children and it would be this generation's turn. So I was packing decks that there was either going to be 2 or 3 in there. And I said to Ashley, I'm like, I don't know if I can do 1, let alone 2 or 3. Like, what happens if that's the case? And he's like, well, we'll figure that out. So the next day was the dating scan. We went in and we did the ultrasound, and I knew as soon as there was definitely a baby in there and you could see its heartbeat, Ashley was going to be over the moon. And he was. I was more focused on the fact that my bladder was about to burst, so I wasn't super excited. I was more like, get the fucking thing off my stomach because this is really hurting me. But yeah, we saw that it was 7 weeks one day when we got our dating scan done. And the look on Ashley's face, I was like, it was like a whole nother level. You know when you see your partner's smile for the first time when you walk down the aisle on the wedding day? This was so different. Like it was next level intense happiness of pure joy. I was rattled, to be honest. As soon as I saw his face, I was like, this is it. This is gonna happen. And I still hadn't accepted the fact that I was pregnant, and I still wasn't really sure on like how I was gonna, you know, entwine all my goals and things like that. We walked out of the ultrasound place and he said, so with an awkward silence, and I said, well, it looks like we're gonna be parents. And he was like, really? Like, he was super excited but super nervous at the same time. And I said, yeah, well, you know, there's only one in there, thank fuck. I can handle one. I know with your support and everything that you've wanted to achieve in your life that we can do this. I can still do my goals and my dreams, and everything's possible with him. So then I called my mum, and because my mum was so unsure whether or not she was going to stay a grandma or not, because of how unsure I was, and I just was really unaware of like my emotions and how I really felt. I told her and I said, hey mum, I'm letting you know that you're definitely going to be a grandma. And she, again, just bawled her fucking eyes out and was super happy. And everyone else was happy too. I was the only, I think it's funny that, you know, everyone around me was so excited that it lifted my spirits, and it made me realize the support network I have around me is amazing. I look at the people that's in my life that are my mentors and, you know, friends and family that have children and they're achieving everything they want to achieve and being super authentic in themselves. And it made me go, you know, I can still do this too. I can do everything that I've ever wanted to do. So it took a bit of mind work to really shift the way I thought about children. But with every single week and every single day and hour that goes past, I'm more and more excited to meet this baby T of ours. It's been an interesting journey. Yeah, so that's my pregnancy story, and I will, after I finish blabbering on, I will show you the announcements that we made with our friends and family. So I surprised a couple of people on telling them that we're pregnant, and we recorded it, and they're such beautiful moments. And I highly recommend, if you're wanting to fall pregnant, or you know, you're currently pregnant now and you haven't told anyone, please record the reactions of the family and friends around you. And it's not just for you, and it's not just to show like how people react on like to Facebook and stuff like that. It's to show your child like how excited the family was when they found out that he or she was going to come into the world. It's a beautiful, beautiful way to capture people's reactions on bringing another human into the world. So thank you so much for watching my first episode for Real Ree. If you want to follow more of my journey, you can find the links to my website, my Instagram, and my Facebook down below in the description. And please feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get all the updates as soon as I pop them up. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Hi. I got him fucked up again. I've gone and fucked up again.
What?
Rhiannon's pregnant.
Brianna's pregnant.
Rhiannon is pregnant.
Yes, Dad. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I'm pregnant. No, you're not. You.
I'm just not hugging it because then I'll make it sick.
Thank you.
Open it up. Open it up.
There's got money in there.
Open it up. You've got to read it.
A wanker.
Hang on.
Yep.
Ooh. Ooh.
I could have said that before you opened it.
Yeah.
Yeah.